Hello YouTube, welcome to my plant room. My name is Becky, and this is Tori, who I guess wants to help out today. So this is not my usual backdrop, but I'm sort of moving stuff around in here. This is what we have for the intro to my video this week. This week I did go do some filming at Rebekah's house. Before you guys all jump down my throat about it, I volunteered to stay with Rebekah's kids while she went grocery shopping. So Rebekah showed me a little bit more of her collection. She has been dealing with a pretty bad bug infestation. So I have some audio from a little interview that we did, and we have a lot more footage of her house and some cool videos of bugs. If you are not into bugs, I am going to be putting warnings before I put the bugs, and I'll put timestamps of like what's safe if you don't want to see creepy little buggies. So I hope that you enjoy it. Before this current outbreak of bugs, what bugs had you dealt with before in your collection?
Aphids and spidermites had been something I've had before. That's when I got spidermites on my ivy by the kitchen sink, and I just rinsed it off and didn't think anything of it. We got a Schefflera, and I think that had aphids, and that's what started it. It got on my Hoyas, and it got on everything. So we took it outside, and every single plant we had went outside on the patio, and we sprayed them real good, and then he washed them all with the instructions and gloves, and he was such a wonderful man because he did it all for me. I didn't even have to touch anything.
Oh, you're lucky.
The whole collection for me, and then brought it all back in, and we never saw another bug again. Then we moved to this house, and ever since I moved to this house, I've been buying plants, and I bring another bug in. They were just kind of like selectively here and there last year through the collection, and I had spidermites a couple of times last year, and I think I only saw one mealybug show up on a Schefflera, and I just squished it, and that was the end of that. But those were really the only two infestations I've ever dealt with.
Okay, so what bugs do you have in your collection right now?
Okay, so I have a combination. I have thrips. It started at Christmas. I broke down a terrarium, and I'd noticed like at the beginning of fall that I had started something that was not quite right, and I would take, a clipping of the plant, and I'd go in and I'd ask them, why is it discolored, or why am I seeing little black marks? I don't understand what this is. What makes the back of your plant look sooty or dirty? And I didn't know what thrips were. I hadn't ever had them before, so I didn't know that that was the beginning of it. And had I known, I would have immediately treated that particular plant and probably never had this problem. Then after Christmas, I thought, okay, I'll rearrange, I'll do my spring clean, take down Christmas, just put the house back to normal, and we'll move some things around. When I did that, I opened up the terrarium, I broke it down, I changed everything, and I ended up unleashing the thrips throughout my collection. But somehow, in amongst that, I got aphids and spidermites showed up. I have reptiles, so I couldn't really use an aggressive chemical. Really, I shouldn't use an aggressive chemical, so I opted to buy beneficial bugs. And I bought 3 different kinds. One was a cucumera, that's where I started, and the lady had helped me pick it out, and we agreed that that should do. And I put it in, got it all organized, put it in the plants, but my collection is really big, and the amount that I bought wasn't the right combination, so it wasn't aggressive enough, and the thrips continued to spread pretty aggressively. And they're everywhere. So then I bought 2 other kinds of predator bugs to help with that, unleashed them, and the infestation is too far gone. Now we're going to remove everyone from the house, and we're just gonna bomb the crap out of it and see if we can just kill them all.
What's it like to have bugs when your collection is as big as yours is?
No, it's okay, well, it was a whirlwind of emotions, because at first you just aggressively want to kill everything because you hate bugs, and then you go through this, okay, I can accept it, bugs are nature and they're going to come in on plants, and it starts to kill your important stuff, and you start seeing it on really expensive plants, and then your heart sinks and you get really mad. So then you start wanting to rinse everything and spray everything, but then I had to remind myself, I let these beneficial bugs are out, they need time to do what they're meant to do. Maybe I need to sit back and just be patient. You can't give up, though. Mm-hmm. You just have to keep fighting through, and you just have to be persevering, and they just can't win. Mm-hmm. Or if you have a small enough collection, you just remove the plant and start over. Don't mess with it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how bad would it have to be for you to just toss a plant like that? The rubber tree that we have some footage of, is that one just gonna go sit on the front porch and freeze, or are you gonna try and treat it?
My poor split leaf philodendron last night landed on the front step because I was so mad. He just made me angry. I don't know why it was him, but he got death's door. The rubber I'm gonna really have to consider, because it's just aphids. Mm-hmm. Like thrips to me are, I don't know, like Stranger Things quality. Mm-hmm. But aphids are kind of like, I don't know, ladybugs in comparison. Right. You can handle a ladybug, but something that's foreign seems, right. And unfortunately with thrips, nothing dies. Like they are so resistant to everything. They just don't die. So I think I'm gonna probably treat the plants, clean them, change their dirt. I will be aggressive once we get a thaw. I'll put everything out on the front porch, and I'll empty everything out, clean it all out. And this year, at some point, probably in August, I'll start again with a clean house, clean plants, clean dirt, and see what happens. And I also have rubbing alcohol in a bottle, so I usually use that and spray where I know the eggs have been laid. That way, as soon as they go to hatch, they die, because you've just been spraying it and spraying it and spraying it until there's nothing left. Mm-hmm. I've treated a couple of plants that way before. Like, I mean, you look at your plants and think, are you worth it? I haven't actually lost anybody that was near and dear to my heart yet in my collection.
Once you've got this outbreak dealt with, is there anything that you would change or that you would do preventatively in the future?
I don't think so. Like, I was already doing a really good preventative measure, and I think that in a collection, you're just going to deal with bugs. It's going to happen. I might be a little bit better about quarantining things rather than just sticking them in with the general public, just because this was such an expensive learn. But at the same time, I don't think that that's going to make a difference, because there wasn't really anything new that I had brought in.
So one of the things people often recommend for big
infestations, especially aphids, is ladybugs. Do you want to tell me why you can't get ladybugs?
We're in the north, so...
I know why you can't get ladybugs, but this is a preventative question.
I priced out ladybugs, and they had suggested predator mites over ladybugs because of their insatiable appetite. I guess ladybugs are lazy. They don't always do the trick, and releasing 10,000 ladybugs in my house would be insane. Lots of people do it, but it's not gonna eradicate the situation, and the plants are still gonna suffer. And letting something winged go, because I know that kids wouldn't handle winged things. I don't think my husband would like that either. It goes past you and you're watching TV, and I can just hear them yelling. So yeah, I was like, no, I don't think that's a wise decision yet. You know, I think managing at this point. Once I get them back down to a level that I can handle, then it'll just be managing them, killing them on site, finding where their eggs are, spraying it often. But I think everybody goes through a phase. Like, you just have to figure it out, and then they die off.
What would you recommend for newer collectors, either for preventatively or if they find out that they have bugs?
So preventatively, when you get your plant, don't be afraid to lift the leaf. I always say look under the skirt, find out what's there. Don't be afraid. You own it, so you can investigate it, check out their parts, make sure that you are looking at the stem looks healthy, you don't see any problems with leaves. And this probably got me into trouble because I like to rescue plants. So when you rescue a plant, you need to be very cautious about what you're bringing in and be attentive. Listen to the people that you're buying from. If they have, if you're buying from friends that have bugs, make sure that, in my situation, I wouldn't sell plants from my collection. And if I were to give plants, I would make sure that they understand that this is what I have. Be careful, be proactive. Then in the next step would be to rinse your plant thoroughly. I would go as far as to even submerge your plant if it's not in dirt, or take it out of the pot, take it out of the dirt and submerge it. You could even coat the surface of the tank or the water with an alcohol spray, dunk your plant under, bring it back out, and then most everything on your plant's going to be dead. So you'll know that you're starting fresh. As for the eggs, I'm not sure if complete submersion will kill them, but I would say, even if you were to leave it overnight in the water, that could be another alternative. Some plants you can't do that with. CALATHEA, for example, are tricky plants. I submerged 7 CALATHEA once, and it was really awful. They turned to mush.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really bad. We weren't sure what they had. I think they had spider mites to begin with. A friend of mine was fighting with spider mites. So I took them in for her, and they just, it was I felt so bad because they just turned to complete mush, and they were useless after that. But thankfully, she had already been done with them, so it was my own stupid mistake. It was my only cost. And at the end, I ended up buying those particular types of CALATHEA again because they're really pretty, and I was surprised how much I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Once they get in, you feel defeated at first because you just think, oh, here I was such a good plant person, and now I suck at it. But there's still a lot of growth going on in there, so I have to look at the bright side, find the joy in it, and keep going.
Yeah, I think for me it's partly we're always learning, but also no matter how experienced you are and no matter how much preventative that you try to do, none of that is a guarantee that you won't have bugs. Okay. So I've seen on YouTube or in some online plant communities where anybody who gets bugs is really treated poorly, especially if they're a big collector. It's oh, you should have known better. But it's almost inevitable, right?
Yeah. With plants comes bugs. You can't avoid it. And it's aggravating because you see all different kinds. I had no idea what kinds I was dealing with. I was what is this?
And it's hard to ID them. And how if you can't see them up close, it's really hard to ID them.
Yeah, I had 1,000 pictures of little black dots all over my leaves, and I'm what is that? The guy's I don't know.
Tiny little black dots. Who knows?
It looks like dirt.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter how
moving.
good you are with bugs. If you can't get close enough to see them, and our eyes just can't pick up their details.
Yeah. If you're gonna have a collection as big as mine, you have to have one of those little microscope things that you're using, because I'm gonna have to invest in one. It's ideal to be able to identify what I'm dealing with, and if I want to be able to put money into my collection like I am, I definitely need to have some way to check and see what I'm working with.
Yeah. And I will put the link to the one that I bought in the description, just in case anybody else is interested. I mean, it's a cheap one. I knew that when I bought it. But for identification, as long as you have like pretty bright light, it does a pretty decent job of it. But I would say if you have a big collection, don't break the bank on it, but like it's worth it as an investment to be sure that you can figure out what bugs it is that you're dealing with. They're not all aphids. Aphids are big enough that we can see them and identify them. But the thrips, when they're juvenile, are really small. And like
And
last time that I was here, they were small and white, and this time there's bigger black ones, and it's like, okay, well, that looks like the pictures of thrips. Yeah.
It's crazy. And knowing their life cycles and their lifespans is really important. Understanding the bug itself really gives you a knowledge of how to defeat it. You don't understand the bug, you can't fight it.
Right, you can't just spray once. You need to know that you need to spray once and then wait, and all the eggs will hatch, you spray again. And you might need to spray a third or fourth time, depending.
I can't imagine how many times those things have hatched in my house.
Oh,
it's so gross.
I know.
Your video of a hatching is so amazing.
Oh my goodness.
You guys are gonna die when you
cannot
see
even
this.
believe that I got it.
You
So-
were freaking out. It was so great. She jumps up from the chair. Ew! It was so great.
Well, thank you for talking to me again, Rebecca, and for showing me your collection and your bugs. I hope that you guys on YouTube enjoyed this.
Alright folks, thanks for watching my little tour of Rebecca's collection and about what it's like